Okay. Had some setbacks on the show, but we're going to get ready to go live in just a few moments here. Just waiting to see if we get some people showing up. If not, we'll get started anyway, because I want to get through some things. But the big thing we're going to be talking about once we get started, or, the big discussion topic tonight is going to be this armbar here on the screen that everybody, not everybody, but there has been a very vocal contingent crying over this situation. And I'm going to address it because, we got people calling for a fighter to be fired. I've seen people calling for her to be arrested. Granted, it is a small contingent, but they are being vocal, so it should be addressed. So we're going to address that. So get ready. We're going to go live in just a second here. All right. Welcome back to WMMA Now with your host, Chuck Stevenson. Welcome to episode number 130 of the WMMA Report radio show. We're going to go over everything going on within the world of women's mixed martial arts. Like I was just saying, tonight, we're going to be going over talking about this armbar by Julija Stoliarenko on Jessica Rose Clark. There's a small but very vocal contingent of people that are not happy with it. But it happened, so we're going to talk about it. And also, PFL, Professional Fighters League, considering adding a women's flyweight division. We're going to talk about that too. Excuse me. But first, we're going to start where we always start, with the weekend results. So let's get into it. First up, we're going to PFL 2022 regular season number 6. They need to come up with a better naming mechanism for these events too, because this is getting ridiculous. All right, first fight. Olena Kolesnik, however you want to say it. It used to be Helena, and now apparently it's Olena. It's the same name, just a different spelling, basically. Anyway, Kolesnik defeated Vanessa Mello via unanimous decision. Kolesnik won 7-4. Mello fell to 11-10. No surprise there. Why did PFL sign Mello other than for the fact that she was a UFC veteran? I don't know. Yeah, there's nothing really much to say about this fight. I mean, Kolesnik got it done. She moved on, and she moves on to the semifinals, to the playoffs. Yeah, the semifinals. And then also at lightweight, Martina Jindrova defeated Thomas Gold by Zelenova via TKO to ground and pound 404 of round number 1. Jindrova climbed to 62, but Zelenova climbed to a belt 7-3. I'll tell you what, Thomas Gold by Zelenova needs to go back to Kazakhstan, go back to the Central Asian circuit and build up her confidence and work on her defense. Like, I mean, okay, you get blasted by Lushiko in your last fight. I can understand that. Jindrova's not exactly a commodity fight or anything. They're here too. Like, oh no, no, what's that? Williams, that was up Ryan Williams. And of course, also at the lightweight weight, Then finally in the main event, and I don't know how this picture ended up smaller, but main event, Kayla Harrison defeated Caitlin Young via TKO due to punches from the back. 2 minutes, 35 seconds of the first round. Harrison stayed undefeated at 14-0. Caitlin Young now has an upside-down record at 12-13. This was to be expected. I mean, Caitlin Young came in on a week's notice. Nobody gave her a chance, and no one was surprised when this happened. So that's it for PFL. You know, I did mention this. I did a video review on Harrison versus Young and Pacheco versus Fabian. I will say this about Kayla Harrison. She's fighting who they put in front of her. Like, I get it. She's not fighting best fighters, and she's in a division that's not even real division. But I think people are being unduly harsh on her. She's fighting whoever is put in front of her. And that's all you can ask of someone, you know? It's not her fault that PFL is hyping her to be like this greatest thing ever. So I think some people should just cut her some slack. Anyway, also on Friday night, Combate Global had a ladies' bout in the flyweight division. Flyweight? Yeah, flyweight division. Melissa Amaya defeated Naomi Tataroglu via unanimous decision. Amaya climbed to 4-0. Tataroglu fell to 3-4. This is a decent fight. I kind of like half watched it. It was on TV, but I was also like pretty distracted at the time. Not a bad fight. It was actually more lopsided than I thought, because like every time I looked up, I thought, let me remove this banner real quick so you can see the names. I thought that Tataroglu was being the aggressor and was landing strikes, and then once I watched it again, Melissa Amaya was actually landing some really good shots on Tataroglu. So Melissa Amaya getting it done, getting the win there. Then early Saturday morning, and I still have not watched these fights yet, but we had Ryzen 36. Unfortunately, not available in the U.S., at least not easily. Moreri Suda defeated Nisei via armbar in the first round. 2 minutes, 12 seconds. Suda climbed to 6-3. Nisei fell to 4-6. Pretty much how I saw this one going. I mean, Suda's, I mean, her record's only 6-3 now, but she's a very promising prospect. And she started her career out 0-2. Plus, she's only 17 years old. She hasn't even, reached her maturity yet. And then, I believe this was the co-main event. Saori Oshima defeated Miyu Yamamoto via split decision. Hopefully, Ryzen gets these fights up soon so I can watch this one. There was a bootleg version of it up, but it wasn't up long enough for me to finish watching it. Apparently, this is a very close fight, very grappling heavy, which I expected from these two. We got a world-class wrestler and a very high-level judoka. So, hoping to get to watch this one and review it soon. But Oshima getting it done via split decision. And then I didn't get to watch this one either, but Centurion FC had their new era card on Saturday in Malta, where Manuela Marcanetto upset Bellator mainstay Danny McCormick via split decision in a strawweight bout. Marcanetto climbed to 3-1. McCormick fell to 5-2. I haven't really seen any footage of this, but I know Marcanetto came in on, I don't know, she's acting like she came in on short notice, but I don't know how short notice it was, I think. But it was definitely an upset. I mean, McCormick, I had McCormick pretty much pegged to win this one. And Marcanetto upset her. So, unfortunately, this fight was only available on Twitch. And Twitch doesn't really give replays. So, Hopefully, maybe they'll post it somewhere soon. If MMA promotions made it easier to watch their fights, a lot more people would report on them. Also, Saturday, UFC 276, Adesanya versus Cannonier had 2 ladies bouts. First up, at bantamweight, Julija Stoliarenko defeated Jessica Rose Clark via armbar. What was the official time? 42 seconds of the first round. Stoliarenko climbed to 10-6. Clark fell to 11-8. We'll talk about this one in a little bit, of course. And then at flyweight, Macy Barber defeated Jessica I via unanimous decision. Barber climbed to 11-2. I fell to 15-11. Some nice improvements from Macy Barber. Continues to grow as a fighter, and I'm not a big fan of Team Alpha Male, but it seems like they've really helped Macy Barber put it together. She's not, wasting her time trying to be an outside fighter anymore. She is now looking to get on the inside, land some strikes on the inside, and, get takedowns and do ground and pound there. Big improvements from Macy Barber. I wasn't sure if she'd get it done against Jessica I. I mean, I know, I think Barber was the favorite fighter, but I thought Jessica I could have possibly gotten it done against her. I mean, she's beaten, up-and-coming prospects before, like Viviera Ujo. But Barber gets it done, and Jessica I has officially retired. I left her gloves in the cage. So, ends a long career for her. Who knows what she's going to be doing afterwards. But that is it for the weekend results. Let's see. Brian Williams in chat talking about Kayla Harrison. It says, nah, she's hyping herself as the best in the world while she's not fighting the best. Well, she's the best women's 155-pounder in the world. Just saying. I mean, for all that's worth, Anyway, let's move into the news. So not a whole lot of news, but there is plenty of stuff that I like in here. All right, so first up, UFC 279 goes down September 10th. Let's see. They were supposed to have a strawweight bout between Hannah Cifers and Melissa Martinez. Cifers is out for unknown reasons, and replacing her against Super Melly is going to be Elise Reed. So, hey, good on the UFC for, being quick to replace Hannah Cifers in that and keeping Super Melly in that fight. Really looking forward to Super Melly's UFC debut. This is some interesting news. Retired UFC fighter Felice Herrig has signed with BKFC. So I'm a little bit surprised by that one, but apparently BKFC offered her, some good money. And in that same announcement and stuff, I guess Felice Herrig makes some good money on OnlyFans. So I guess Feet Picks, bring home the cheddar. Also got some Combate Global announcements. First up, on August 12th, they're having a pair of strawweight bouts. First up, Claire Lopez taking on Camila Rivarola. That one looks really good. And then Carolyn Gallardo taking on Josephine Lindgren Knudsen. That will be Knudsen's first Combate debut. She just fought at the Road to UFC events in Singapore a few weeks back. And then Combate has an event for September 9th. Added an atomweight bout. Anna Summers taking on Nadine Abbott-Bissett. So I mentioned Nadine Abbott-Bissett a couple weeks ago. Yeah, 2 weeks ago or whatever. And she's an IMMAF champ with a 7-2 amateur record. She'll be making her pro debut. Anna Summers is 1-1. She's a girl. We mentioned her a couple months back. She snapped a girl's arm off in the cage. So that was pretty awesome. Then LFA 137 goes down later this month, July 29th in Commerce, California. They added a strawweight bout. Pauline Macias taking on Amber Brown. Amber the Bully Brown, an Invicta veteran, has not fought for several years at least. So good to see Amber Brown back, and she'll be taking on Pauline Macias. Both of those ladies could really use a win, so that should be a good one. And then Fight Pro Championship goes down August 13th in Brazil. They have like 3 or 4 ladies bouts on that card, but the one I'm most interested in, they have a flyweight bout. Diana Torquato taking on Talita Suarez. You might remember Diana Torquato. She twice fought Karina Rodriguez for the Invicta flyweight belt and twice came up short. And the second fight, she was like weak notice replacement against Rodriguez and actually did even better in that fight than she did in the first fight. And the first fight, if I remember right, was a split decision. So that'll be one to watch out for. And then Ryzen 37 goes down July 31st. They have added the first round of the Ryzen Super Atomweight Grand Prix. So let's check this out. We've got Reina taking on newcomer Anastasia Svetkivska. We've got Kana Asakura taking on Shiyu Park in a classic battle of striker versus grappler and Japan versus Korea, which is a rivalry hundreds of years old. Then we've got Ayaka Hamasaki taking on Jessica Aguilar in a fight 11 years in the making. They were supposed to fight back in 2011 and it fell through. And then we have the current Ryzen Super Atomweight champ Seika Izawa taking on Laura Fontoura. And that's going to be a good bout too, I think. Then also just announced, was it yesterday or this morning? One Championship 136 goes down August 26th. That's going to be the first One Championship event that if you're in the US or Canada, you can watch it in prime time on Amazon Prime Video. And they've added one atomweight bout. Itsuki Harata taking on Lin Huchin. That should be a fun one, striker versus grappler battle. And then final bit of news, and this just came out like a couple of hours ago, but UFC has a fight night scheduled for October 1st. Main event, strawweight division, Mackenzie Dern taking on Yan Xiaonan. Talk about a striker versus grappler battle. So that's going to be a main event fight scheduled for 5 rounds. Whoo, that's a good one. I don't think they're going to need 5 rounds. I got to be honest. My early pick here on that one is going to be Dern via submission. I think she'll be able to get Xiaonan down and get the sub on her. Not that Dern has like the greatest submissions. I just think she'll be able to chase Xiaonan down and get her to the ground. But we'll have to see. But I think that'll be a good fight. All right, so that is it for the news. So moving things along, check out the chat. Enrique Webb is in the chat. Says late to the party. Well, hey, better late than never, Enrique. Brian Williams, yeah, that's true about, I'm guessing about Kayla being the best women's lightweight in the world. So let's talk some rankings updates. So since last week, we've got some new rankings updates. Okay. First up, Combate Global has come out with their own rankings. Oh, wait. D. Brown in the chat says, missed the flyweight PFL talks. No, you have not. I haven't gotten to them yet. But I don't know why Combate added rankings. I don't think they really need them. They don't really have, like, truly structured divisions for it. But they did it, even though they don't even have any champions. They have some rankings. So we'll see. But here are their rankings for atomweight with Ana Palacios up at number 1 and Gloria Bravo at number 2. Now, Palacios fights next weekend against Combate newcomer Bohyun Park. They've got Alitzel Mariscal at number 5. She fights later tonight. We'll talk about that in a second. Andrea Menezes, I'm not sure she even got the fight yet for Combate. Anna Summers has had one fight with them. She's at number 7. She's 1-1. Jade Durand at number 9. She's 1-2 as a pro. So this is what I mean. Like these rankings are kind of weird. Oh, like Mariscal's at number 5. Okay, she's 2-2 as a pro, and she hasn't fought in. When was the last time she fought? Let me check real quick. Alitzel Mariscal hasn't fought since April of last year. So yeah, these rankings are kind of screwy. Strawweight rankings: Carolyn Gallardo at number 1. Okay, I can see that. That's well earned. I think she has the best record of their strawweight fighters, and she's like been fighting with them forever. Cressida Adames at number 2. Okay. Why isn't Claire Lopez up there? She's not even. Where is Claire Lopez on here? She placed 2nd in their strawweight tournament. So why isn't she even listed on here? Stephanie Frausto's on there, and I don't think she's ever won for Combate. Dolce Garcia or Claudia Diaz, I don't think has a single win under them, or she might have like 1. She's like 1-3, if I remember correctly. These are just, yeah. And then up at flyweight, we've got Maritza Sanchez at number 1. Melissa Amaya at number 2. Lucero La Loba Acosta at 5. Tina Pettigrew, who actually has a win over Maritza Sanchez, all the way down to number 6. Make of these rank, like I said, when I put these up in a community post, I said, make of these what you will, and that's the best I can say. I don't have a problem with Maritza at number 1. Melissa Maya just put on a good performance. Number 2, okay. Lucero Acosta only has 1 fight at flyweight, I think, and she lost. So I don't know. Anyway, those are the Combate Global rankings. If I see them get updated, or who knows when they'll be updated. Who knows anything about these? Like, I asked a question on Twitter. I said, how are these decided and by whom? Of course, I got no answer. Let's move on to UFC. So UFC flyweight rankings. Take down the stupid banner. So Macy Barber moved from 13 to 10 after beating the then ranked number 10 Jessica Ai, who moves down to number 13. Cynthia Calvillo moves down 1 spot as well. So I guess Calvillo and I were tied at number 10. I don't know. But that's it for the UFC. Shouldn't be any changes to the rankings after this weekend either, because all the fighters are unranked. D. Brown says, good reference points for what's happening in the division. Here's the thing, though, D. Brown. I don't think Combate actually makes long-term plans for their divisions. I truly don't. I think they just kind of throw fights together. I mean, don't get me wrong. They make very fun, entertaining fights, but none of them ever make sense. You never know who's fighting until like Wednesday of fight week. Sometimes you don't even know until Thursday of fight week, and they fight on Friday. I really, really, really want to like Combate. They make it hard. They truly make it hard to not only follow them, they make it hard to like keep up to date on anything with them. It's screwy. So that's your ranking updates for the week. So let's move into the weekend preview. So later tonight, we do have Combate Global on Paramount Plus if you want the English broadcast, which you have to pay for Paramount Plus, or if you want to, if you don't mind and would rather prefer the Spanish one, you can get it for free if you have access to Univision or TUDN. Anyway, they've got a pair of ladies bouts. First up at atomweight, we have Katie Perez taking on Krasula Kokovatakis. I might have murdered that. It's a Greek name. And you might recognize Perez. She's fought for Invicta a couple of times, including in the, what do you call it? I believe she was in the atomweight Phoenix tournament. So anyway, looking at the stats here, Makina Assassina Perez coming in at 2-2. Kokovatakis coming in at 3-1. Perez last fought for Invicta, coming off a decision that was 10 months ago. Decision loss. Krasula coming in on 3 straight wins. She last fought 8 months ago as well. She's coming in off of a unanimous decision. Perez is the younger fighter, 29-34. Looks like Krasula is going to be 3 inches taller, 5 feet 6 inches, 168 centimeters to 5 feet 3 inches, 160 centimeters for Perez. 5'6". That's very tall for an atomweight. That's up there among the tallest of atomweights. Very interesting. I've never seen Krasula fight. I've seen Perez fight. She's fun to watch. I don't really have a pick for this one. I don't really have a pick for any of the fights this weekend, I don't think. But this should be a fun one. I believe this one's on the prelims, whereas the other ladies fight at strawweight. Is it strawweight? Yeah. Strawweight? Yeah, strawweight is going to be on the main card. We have Alitzo Mariscal taking on Shannon Goguri. So Mariscal is like ranked as an atomweight, but she hasn't fought in over a year, or no, yeah, over a year. And I think she might have had a kid not that long ago. So that would explain the move up in weight. Anyway, Goguri, I believe, has fought, I want to say, in Bellator once before. Yeah, she fought for Bellator once back in 2019. I knew she was familiar. Anyway, Mariscal coming in at 2-2. Goguri coming in at 5-7. Mariscal coming in off of 2 straight losses. Last fought a year and 2 months ago. Lost to Mariah Miller, who just fought at Flyweight last week. Goguri last fought 6 months ago, coming off a loss via unanimous decision. No age for Mariscal on Tapology. Goguri is 36 years old. Goguri is 2 inches taller, 5 feet 2 inches, 157 centimeters to 5 feet even, 152 centimeters for Mariscal. So you got a fighter who hasn't fought in a while taking on a fighter with an upside-down record. Here's what Combate Global is doing. And they've literally admitted to doing this in previous fights. Okay, Goguri here is being brought in basically to job for Mariscal. Okay. She's being brought in to job for this one. Or as Combate CEO Clembel McLaren would put it, to get Mariscal over. That's what Goguri is being brought in. Basically, she's being brought in to lose. So we'll see. I mean, hopefully this ends up being an exciting fight. most combate fights are very good. They don't bring in like grappler heavy fighters too often. They like to keep it standing, and so we'll see. Then we have UFC on Saturday. Was it Fight Night Dos Anjos versus Fizaev? We've got two ladies fights, both at flyweight. This one's on the prelims. Antonina Shevchenko taking on Courtney Casey. So the other Shevchenko coming in at 9-4. Cast Iron Casey coming in at 10-9. Shevchenko riding 2 straight losses. Last fought 9 months ago, got TKO'd by Casey O'Neill. Cast Iron coming in off of a win over Liana Jojua 7 months ago. Before that, though, had two straight losses to Jillian Robertson and JJ Aldridge. So let's be honest here. Both fighters really need a win. And neither are on the right side of their 30s. Shevchenko is 37. Casey is 35. Looks like Shevchenko has 1 inch of height on Casey. 5 feet 8 inches, 172 centimeters. To 5 feet 7 inches, 170 centimeters for Casey. And Shevchenko has 1 inch of reach as well. 68 inches, 173 centimeters to 67 inches, 170 centimeters for Courtney Casey. So Courtney Casey, she's not used to, being the shorter, less rangier fighter, but let's be honest about Courtney Casey. She's never learned to use her length and her reach and her height to her advantage anyway. Loves striking into the clinch. Just loves going straight into the clinch. And I feel like that's going to really favor Shevchenko here. Other than that, I really don't have a whole lot to say about this. Two fighters who love to underperform. I mean, they do. And I'm a Courtney Casey fan. I've been a fan of hers for a long time, but man, is it frustrating. It's hard to be a Courtney Casey fan. It is just so frustrating. But whoever wins this, it's going to decision. Like D. Brown says, outcome decision. Yeah, it's going to decision. Whoever wins. I'll go with Shevchenko. I mean, she is the overall cleaner fighter. I'd say better fighter. At least knows how to fight to like a plan. I mean, Courtney Casey, we've seen it so many times where it's like you're the taller, longer fighter. Does she use it at all? Does she stay on the outside? No, she strikes her way straight into the clinch and throws away the fight from there. It's happened to her, I don't know how many times. Well, she's 10-9, so it's happened to her about 9 times. That's usually how she loses. Anyway, also on this card, up on the main card at flyweight, we've got Cynthia Calvillo welcoming Nina Nunes to this flyweight division. Nunes moving up from strawweight. Calvillo comes in at 9-4-1. Nunes comes in at 10-7. Both ladies really, really need to win there. Calvillo's lost 3 straight. Most recently dropped a TKO to Andrea Lee from a corner stoppage. She basically quit on the stool. And Nunes last fought a little over a year ago, got submitted by Mackenzie Dern via armbar. Looked like crap in that fight, too. Nunes is the elder fighter by 2 years, 36-34. Nunes is 1 inch taller, 5 feet 5 inches, 166 centimeters to 5 feet 4 inches, 163 centimeters. They have the same reach, though, 64 inches, 163 centimeters. Look, if I don't sound super enthused about these fights, it's because I'm not. What's there to be excited about with this fight? I'm being honest. Like, what is there to be excited about with this fight? I mean, Nunes is 36 years old. She's fought once in the last 3 years. Lost. Calvillo has looked like absolute crap in all of her recent fights. What's there to be excited about this? I don't know. I know, like, it's part of my job to, like, help get people hyped. Not my job. It's part of my duty, basically, with this channel, is to get people excited about the upcoming fights. There's nothing to get hyped up about with this fight. I mean, at least with Shevchenko and Casey, you know it'll be sloppy fun. This fight's just going to be sloppy. Like, I don't see this fight being fun or entertaining at all. I don't. I don't have a pick for this one. I just can't bring myself to really care about it that much. D. Brown says Calvillo versus Nunes could be nasty scrap desperation. As you said, need to win. That is the one thing. The one thing about this fight that is interesting, that they both need a win. So they could come out here looking to prove themselves. They could come out here really looking to go for the win. On the other hand, they could also come out here and just fight to not lose, which is the absolute worst outcome. When you've got two fighters who go in there and fight not to win, but they fight to not lose, it'd be like a replay of last weekend's main event. Two fighters who fought to not lose. All right, final fight for this weekend. Sunday morning, early Sunday morning. We've got deep 108 Impact in Japan. Kate Lotus Oyama taking on Mika Arami Arai. This is at strawweight. All right, both fighters coming in with upside down records. Oyama coming in on the left. Oyama's the one on the left, coming in at 2-3. Arami coming in at 5-6. Now, Oyama lost her last fight a little over a month ago. Got submitted versus a much more experienced fighter. Like, the fighter she fought had almost 30 fights, whereas she only has like 5 now. So no surprise she lost that one. Arami has lost her last 3. Let's see. Arami's the elder fighter by, 4 years? 28 to 24. Oyama's slightly taller, 5 feet 5 inches, 164 centimeters, to 5 feet 3 inches, 160 centimeters. I'm actually more interested in this one than I am Calvillo versus Nunes. Because at least here you have two fighters. Well, you've got Kate Lotus, Kate Oyama, who's young and hungry and just getting started in her career and has made some good improvements in a very short amount of time. And she's taken on Arami, who gave up any chance of actually being a good fighter a couple years ago when she just started taking every fight given to her, no matter who it was against. But she comes out to scrap, and I will give her credit for that. She comes out to scrap, and she does take whatever fight they give her. So she has like that Cowboy Cerrone spirit in her. And she comes out and she looks to put on good fights all the time. So I'm actually excited about this one. I'm going with Kate Oyama. I think Arami's best weight was at atom weight. She hasn't fought there in a couple years. I think she should have stayed there, but I'm going to go with Oyama to win this one. Probably by decision. D. Brown says Cynthia lost momentum when she lost her sponsorship and was bamboozled for cannabis use. No, I think she lost her momentum when she was still with Team Alpha Male and she hooked up with Justin Buchholz, and she got it into her head that she's some kind of striker when she was always a better grappler. I mean, he improved her striking somewhat, but then she just fell in love with being some kind of striker. And it's like, yo, you're a mixed martial artist, including grappling, and you are far better at your grappling than you are at striking. So stick with that. She just refused to. Okay, so that is it for the weekend preview. All right, two topics I want to talk about. I missed this one. Enrique Webb says, come on, Antonina is pretty. Yeah, she's kind of pretty. She's definitely the better looking of the two sisters. That's easy, for sure. All right, so this is via MMAfighting.com. I'm not going to play the video, but it says, Ray Sefo, PFL is considering adding women's bantamweight and women's flyweight divisions. I'm not going to go too deep into this. I think it's okay. Finally, PFL is adding a real women's divisions, or at least considering it. They've already signed Dakota Dacheva, who's a young prospect, to a fight. Right now, it seems like it's going to be a one-off later this year. Don't know who she's fighting yet or when, but it will be later this year. I'll salute PFL for finally wanting to add a real women's divisions, because their lightweight division is not a real division. Most of the fighters have spent the majority of their careers fighting at bantamweight or featherweight, and they got sucked up to lightweight for, well, chance at $1 million. So can't really blame them for wanting that $1 million and trying. But that's not a real division. So I'm glad that they are, thinking about adding a real women's division. And I think they could do a decent job at flyweight, because, man, there are so many prospects out there at flyweight. Like, I remember when UFC finally added the flyweight division. There was more active flyweights at the time than there were strawweights or bantamweights out there in the world. And now we're seeing the fruits of that in, the UFC. Bellator has had flyweights for years, although they rarely ever add any new fighters to their roster. So I think PFL could do a good job with flyweight. Could, with the right signings. Here's an alternative, though. Here's my thoughts on this. They're missing an opportunity. You see, you have the two major U.S. promotions already. PFL is U.S. based. What also are U.S. based? UFC and Bellator, the two big promotions in North America. Both of them already have a flyweight division. What division does neither of those two promotions have? Think about it. What division does neither the UFC or Bellator have? Atomweight. PFL could be much better served by adding an atomweight division, because then they have something that neither the UFC nor Bellator has. So then they're not competing with the UFC or Bellator for prospects. By adding flyweight, you are now competing with two bigger promotions that can add much bigger regular fight salary. I mean, granted, that $1 million at the end of the season looks great, but you've got to make it all the way to the end of the season and win it all. Excuse me. You've got to win it all to get that $1 million. Why do that when you can get regular fights with Bellator or the UFC? and two much more well-known promotions for just as good, if not better, money. And honestly, unless you're winning at the end of the year, the prospects in Bellator and the UFC are much better than they are in the PFL. The long-term prospects are much better in the UFC or PFL. So while PFL is going to be competing with those two promotions for the best flyweight prospects out there, they're missing out on an opportunity with atomweight. Nobody has atomweight outside of Invicta in the US. And worldwide, there is no one big promotion that is really drawing in all the atomweights. I mean, you've got, Deep Jewels and Ryzen in Japan. You've got Invicta in the US, and that's basically it. And Invicta is not a big promotion. Invicta is, for all intents and purposes, they're like a farm league. They're a prospect league. They build up prospects for other promotions to pick up, really. So in the US, which is mostly who PFL is catering to right now, atomweight doesn't have a big promotion. I think PFL is missing the boat here. I really do. I think they should have added. They should consider atomweight, because then they're not competing directly with the UFC and Bellator for what is already a crowded marketplace for flyweights. There is no marketplace really for atomweights. Plus, when you add atomweight, you can also pull down some of the smaller straw weights outside the UFC and draw them in to compete at atomweight. Boom. That's a feeding, doing pretty good feeding too. So like as far as drawing power. So I think I applaud the PFL for adding or considering adding, a real women's division at flyweight. However, I just think that they are missing the boat with atomweight. One of these big promotions has got to add atomweight at some point. And whoever does it is going to be breaking ground. And they're going to be the first ones. And I think everyone else will be playing catch up afterwards. So those are my thoughts on that. D. Brown seems to be the only one speaking in the chat for the most part. No, I already read that one. Says, I think the PFL flyweight and bantamweight division would pick up the tournaments setup would work a lot, would work for a lot of those women. Okay. Could be easy money. A long-term tournament format where you're fighting it's never going to be easy money. I don't think. Maybe for like one or two fighters that are like just much more elevated than the rest of the division. Yeah, it could be easy money, but I don't think the PFL's winning that tournament's never easy money. Says those divisions in PFL would create opportunities for regional female fighters making their way up and banking their way to the top. Yeah, that is what's the best thing about PFL. And says atomweights and lightweights. Yeah, I think atomweight would be the best way to go for them. All right, so unfortunately, not a lot of people watching right now. I was hoping might get some actual people watching and in the chat for some feedback for this one. But it seems like anytime it's time to talk, no one wants to show up for the live shows, but then they'll run their mouth in the comments. So we'll see. So a lot of people seem to be upset over Julija Stoliarenko's armbar of Jessica Rose Clark, where she just absolutely wrenched it. And I'm going to try this out. Hopefully, I don't get copyright struck for this. I'm going to show you the 3-second segment of this armbar here, okay? Okay, so we're starting at the 35-second mark of the first round of Stoliarenko versus Clark. I'm going to turn the volume down. That way they can't get me for sound, at least. Okay, so Stoliarenko at this point is already going for the armbar here. She doesn't have it yet. She doesn't have it wrenched up or anything yet. Watch how fast this whole segment is that people are freaking out about, okay? She's working on it, working on it. Now she's got stretched. There's a tap, and there's the referee, okay? Watch how fast this whole action is. Okay, 4:20. Watch the clock. It says 4:20 here. There's the stretch, there's the tap, and that's boom, 4:18. It was literally 3 seconds of action from not stretched out to the referee stopping the fight and her letting go. And people are acting like, oh, she held it on for so long. She held it on for so long. People are freaking out over this. Okay, let me show it one more time. 4:20. We'll go boom. It's still saying 4:20 on the clock. Okay, watch. She stretches, she's tapping, and there's the stop. And I gotta quit. Nope. I gotta quit showing that before I get copyright struck. That's how fast it was. And people are acting like, oh, she wrenched it so hard and she held it after she was already tapping and she did it on purpose. All right, so here's the quote from after the fight from Julija Stoliarenko. And keep in mind, English is not her first language. She's Lithuanian. I had a couple of fights in MMA, a couple of fights in jiu-jitsu where I do regret that I did it too soft. And there's moments where I lost those submissions. They teach me to snap it until the referee stops. And this is what I'm going to do now. Every time I get submission, if I get submission, I'm going to snap it. Now, here's where I think the English not being her first language comes into play. Most instructors don't teach you to snap it. They teach you to crank it. Crank it, not snap it. But I'll be honest, I don't see her doing anything wrong. I don't think she did anything wrong at all. I think people are freaking out over nothing. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Jessica Rose Clark has a dedicated fan base. They're not super large, but they are dedicated. A lot of them are simpy, very simp-minded. And I think a lot of this is over nothing. I really do. I think people are just generally overreacting, like way overreacting to this. Before I go on, just a reminder, the chat is open. I see we've got some more people in. So let your thoughts be known in the chat, and I will address it. But I already mentioned this. The whole sequence from the arm not being fully stretched to she stretched it, she cranked it, tapped, and the referee stopped it, and she let go was 3 freaking seconds. 3 seconds. People are acting like she was just stretching away, cranking away on it. And Jessica Rose Clark was piling out for like ever before the referee got to it. She literally stopped as soon as the referee got to it. She cranked it. Jessica Rose Clark tapped. The referee came right in and she stopped. She was well within the rules. Okay. The rules don't say that you stop at the tap. The rules state that the referee stops the fight. The fighters do not stop the fight. The referee stops the fight. Okay? She stopped when the referee told her to stop. Okay? And by the way, it was like I said, the whole sequence was 3 seconds. Three seconds. 3 seconds. That's how fast it was. That's almost 3.5. Let me reset that again. 1, 2, 3. That's how fast it was. The entire sequence from not having it stretched out to done. She stopped. That's all it took. That's all the entire sequence was. And she stopped as soon as the referee told her to stop. That's the rules. You stop when the referee tells you to stop. Now, also, in Stoliarenko's defense, let me pull up her record real quick here. Let me pull up her record. Julija Stoliarenko, 10-6-1. She's coming in 3 straight losses in the UFC. She lost this fight, she was done. I have a real hard time explaining to, debt collectors that, well, I would be able to pay you, but, well, I kind of let that armbar go a little early, and I ended up losing, because that's exactly what happened to her in her 3 previous fights. She went for the armbar, didn't quite get it, or she let it go too early, wasn't able to lock it on quite as good, and lost. Because that's what she does in all of her fights. She goes for that first round armbar, because look how many wins she has by first round armbar. It's a ton of them. It's a bunch of them. All the way back in 2013, armbar, round 1. We got some custom rules fights. Don't know that one. Here's we go. Armbar, 22 seconds, round 1. Armbar, round 1. Armbar, round 1. Armbar, round 1. She got a split decision win there. Almost all of her wins are by first round armbar. So she knows what she's doing when she goes in there and goes for the armbar. She knows that if she doesn't get it, she's probably going to lose. So how are you going to tell someone that, oh, they should take it easier when they get that arm, when they know that if they don't get it, their chances are likely that they're going to lose. And then they get half their money. Okay? Because let me tell you something. I'm going to go a little bit out of order on my list here. This is prize fighting. Okay? This is prize fighting. People fight for money. They're fighting for money. They literally go in there. This is a sport. This is where people, this is combat sports. This is prize fighting, where people fight each other. Go in there and try to hurt each other for money. Where half your pay depends on whether or not you go in there and win or not. That's the UFC pay structure, and that is actually most MMA promotions' pay structures, because they almost all copy the UFC. So you go in there, you win, you get double the money. You lose, you only get half of that. So whether or not you actually get a decent amount of money all depends on whether or not you win. Because guess what? She's on her first freaking contract. She's probably getting like 12 and 12. So whether the difference between whether or not she gets that 24 grand or 12 grand all depends on whether or not she's going to get that armbar. Well, guess what? She got her 24 grand because she got the armbar. And by the way, it's not like she's walking home with all 24 grand, because then you got to pay taxes. You've got to pay your gym. You've got to pay your cornerman. You've got to pay your manager. Most of that's like 20%. So you're not left with a whole lot after that. So yeah. Let's say she walks off with 50% of her grand total pay at the end of the day. 50% of 24 grand is 12 grand. What's 50% of 12 grand? 6 grand. That is not a lot of money, okay? That is not a lot of money. For what? 6 weeks of work? That's not a lot of money. Some of these fighters have families to feed. Some of them have kids to feed. So at the end of the day, I mean, I don't know what Stoliarenko's situation is. I think she's single, but some of these fighters do have families to feed. So again, prize fighting. If it comes down to, if I'm a fighter, I've got kids to feed. Just say. And you're going to tell me the difference comes down to that person or me. If I got to take an arm, if I got to break someone's arm in order to make sure my kids don't starve, guess what? That fighter's arm's getting broken. I'm sorry. That's just how it is. And that's how most fighters think. Okay. You're talking about food on the table, whether it's for their family, whether it's for their families or just for them. It's food on the table. In Stoliarenko's case, it was literally her job on the line. Okay. They're not going to let her stay with 4 straight losses on her first contract. It's not going to happen. Okay. What else do I want to talk about? Oh, again, this is combat sports. Now, some people are going to say, well, yeah, it's sports. But guess what? The first word and the primary thing is that it is combat. Okay. Combat sports. It is not for the weak, nor for the faint of heart. And I don't know what's happened in the last 17 years that I've been watching this sport, but the fan base lately, and maybe it's because it is women fighting. Maybe it's because it's women fighting. But the fan base has gotten really wimpy when it comes to the possibility of these fighters getting hurt. Really crying about these fighters getting hurt. But guess what? These fighters go in there knowing that they are risking life and limb, literally life and limb. Granted, the number of deaths in MMA is in a single digit. But combat sports total, it's actually pretty high. Like people die in boxing, every year. Does that stop people from watching boxing? No. Does it stop boxers from competing? No. Do injuries in MMA stop fans from watching? No. Do injuries in MMA stop fans from watching? No. Generally, no. This is combat sports. If you can't take injuries in this sport, if you can't take watching the fighters get hurt, this is not for you. Okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, don't care whether you're watching this and you're a guy or you're watching this and you're a girl. Grow a pair. Okay? Put on your big boy pants or your big girl pants. Okay? Take off the pull-up diapers and put on your big boy pants, your big girl pants. And grow a pair. This is combat sports. Fighters are going to get hurt. Injuries are going to happen. Okay? Janae Harding had her orbital socket broken in one of her fights. Were people crying then? No, I didn't. Where was the outrage when Janae Harding got her orbital bone broken and had to go get surgery? Where was the crying then? Were people going, her opponent struck to hurt her. They shouldn't have hit him so hard. Yeah, there are people literally breaking bones and breaking their freaking eye sockets from striking. Where are the people crying when fighters get their orbital bones broken? They're going, they shouldn't have hit her so hard. They shouldn't have hit him so hard. He threw that punch to hurt her. Because guess what? All the strikes thrown, or at least 85, 80 to 85%, we'll say, making up numbers, because some strikes are thrown as rangefinders. But guess what? Most strikes are meant to hurt people. Where's the crying when people break their orbital bone? Nobody cries. Nobody's crying over they shouldn't have punched them so hard they broke their orbital bone. Why is it that people freak out about submissions? Because you can stop? Maybe. I don't know. But guess what? Everybody knows the inherent dangers of submissions. I just think, or maybe it's because people like Jessica Rose Clark. Like I said, she has a vocal contingent of fans out there, dedicated fans. Maybe they're just crying because it's her. Maybe they wouldn't care if it was another fighter. In which case, grow up. Stop being a simp. Finally, I see people calling for her to get arrested, which is ridiculous. This is sanctioned by the state. She was well within the rules. And then I see people calling for the UFC to fire her. They should fire her. They should fire her. She broke the rules. She didn't break the rules, and they're not going to fire her. Hell, fire her. They gave her a bonus. The UFC literally gave her a performance bonus off of this. You think they're going to fire her for snapping an arm? Heck no. Because there are much more fans out there that thought that was cool than the fans that are out there thinking, oh, that was terrible. How could she do such a thing? Okay? So she's not getting fired. If anything, she, like I already mentioned multiple times, she saved her career. She saved, or maybe not her career, she certainly saved her spot on the roster with this win, and she got 50 G's on top of it. So not only did she got a show bonus because she showed up and fought. She got her win bonus, or she got her win money because she won. Top of that, she gave such a great performance. The UFC goes, hey, awesome job. Here's an extra 50 G's for it. Basically, at the end of the day, I'm just trying to tell people you need to grow up. Okay? She did not break the rules. She was well within the rules. And this is combat sports. People are going to get hurt. And everyone knows it. The fighters sure know it when they enter in the cage. Hell, they learned that years ago when they started training that sometimes people get hurt. Sometimes you get injured. It happens. So I'm siding with Stoliarenko on this one. And the fans need to get over it. All right, let's see what's going on in the chat with this one. D. Brown says new camp, JRC, for Jessica Rose Clark. I think she's at CSA, Jim. I don't like CSA. I'm not a fan of CSA. Perez says, I see no issue. Ricky Webb says, yes, but she's not supposed to do that. It's a sport, and she's not supposed to use excessive force, and she did it intentionally. It's being investigated now. Is it being investigated? I haven't seen anything on it. They certainly haven't overturned her win yet, and she got 50 G's bonus. Did she use excessive force? She used the right of force necessary to elicit the tap and bring the referee in to stop it. D. Brown says, make a wish super necessary. Fighters must control their weapons. I'd say she had full control over what she was doing. And record isn't that good. No, her record's not stellar exactly. That's for sure. It is not stellar. She's at 10-6-1. So, yeah, when your record isn't that good, you got to do what you got to do to win. So you break the girl's arm to get the money, and you think that is okay, from Enrique Webb. Well, like I said, Enrique, if it were me or my opponent, and it came down to whether or not my electricity stayed on, whether or not I had food on the end of the table, and it's me or them, it's going to be me. Period. And that's how most fighters think. That is the mentality of winning fighters. It's me or them, and I'm not the one going home with a lot less money. I have no idea what you're saying here. Nothing. Enrique says it was a criminal act and it's being investigated. Where do you see that it's being investigated as a criminal act? It's not a criminal act because she didn't break the rules. D. Brown says she missed the tap, broke arm, unnecessary. She didn't miss the tap. The referee intervened right as she was tapping. So she, again, me and largest. Snap it until the referee stops it. She stopped when the referee stopped it. That is well within the rules. It says, also, the USCIS has been notified to deny her entry to this country. Enrique, do you have a source for that? Because I'm going to need to see a source. D. Brown says, overkill. Thank you, Perez. Perez says, I've seen 2 deaths live watching boxing. This is the reality. Accept it or get out. Yeah, I mean, I've never watched a death live boxing, but I have seen the end of that fight where Maxim Dadashev died, and that was terrible. But yeah, like I said, deaths are only in the single digits in MMA, thankfully. But injuries are going to happen in this sport. And Enrique says, no, we want to live in a civilized society, and the sport must be controlled and safety must be guaranteed by the promoter and the state commission. That's why the referee is there, and that's why the referee intervened and stopped it. So the safety was guaranteed. Enrique says that was a criminal act. Again, she stopped when the referee stopped her. That's what the rules say. She stopped when the referee stopped it. Now, if you can show me proof that this was a criminal act, I'd like to see it. Because you mentioned that USCIS has been notified to deny her entry to this country. Again, Enrique, I need to see proof. D. Brown corrected himself. Alpha Cat Zingano toe punt eye poke. Yeah, I mean, that was an accident. But yeah. Freaking Cat Zingano practically got her eye ripped out by a toe. Actually, what's his name? Mike Winklejohn, half of the Jackson Wink gym. Mike Winklejohn actually lost sight in one of his eyes because of a toenail way back in the day, kickboxing. So yes, injuries happen. I mean, we see eye pokes all the time. Eye pokes all the time because fighters are constantly keeping their fingers outstretched. Someone's eventually going to lose an eye. Yeah. Perez saying, is Enrique for real? He's not making sense. Enrique is generally a good dude. I don't know what he's talking about tonight, though. All right, so those are my thoughts on that. 3 seconds. She stopped when the referee stopped her. That's the job. You stop when the referee says stop. Because how many times had fighters mention that, well, I had the submission in. I let go. The opponent tapped. I let go of the submission. The referee didn't acknowledge it. So the opponent that tapped kept going. And then that fighter loses. There have been, I don't know how many times fighters have said that exact sequence, lost because of it. And then that fighter says, from now on, I'm not letting go of the submission until the referee stops me. That's exactly what Stoliarenko did. That's what she's saying here. That's what she's saying here in this. And numerous other fighters have said it. Because they know what the possibility is if they let go before the referee stops it. That's what Stoliarenko did. Did she crank it super hard? Yeah, guess what? That's how you're supposed to apply a submission. In the sport. In competition, you don't just ease your way into the submission, especially in MMA, where you could be getting punched or kicked in the face while you're applying a submission. If it's like practice, randori, free rolling in a gym, yeah, you might want to, put it on gently and wait for the tap. But in competition, you crank it. You don't just ease your way into the submission. If you can get the submission, you got it locked on, you're going for it. Whether it's armbar, rear naked choke, ankle lock, kimura, triangle choke, whatever. You get the submission, you crank it, you choke it, you squeeze until you get the tap and the referee stops. And that's what happened. Jessica Rose Clark tapped and the referee stopped it. And as soon as the referee touched her, Stoliarenko let go. And again, it was within 3 seconds. It's not like she held on for dear life. It's not like she did Husamar Palhares, who would crank an ankle lock well after the referee practically beating him up to get him to let go of the ankle. It's not like she pulled that. It's literally as soon as the referee touched her, she let go. Stoliarenko didn't do anything wrong. And if you think she did, maybe this sport's just not for you. All right. Anybody else got anything in the chat before I get going? Because Combate starts in about a half hour. And I need a shower because it is hot. So if anybody else has anything in the chat, now's the time to do it. Now's the time to say something. Otherwise, I'm going to get ready to close up. Perez says, thank you, Perez, for joining in. Good to have people here. So, if nobody else has anything, I forgot to mention early in the stream. Please, that helps. I don't think that is like one of the few things you can really do to help me out here is to hit that like button, because that actually gets the algorithm going. It's the channel, the stream noticed by the algorithm. The more people hit the like button, guess what? The more people get notified that the stream is happening when they turn on YouTube or click on YouTube. So hit that like button. And I should have mentioned that at the beginning. But go ahead and hit that like button. If you like the content, and not just the stream, the live stream that I try to do it every week. Sometimes there's breaks. If you like the recorded content too, go ahead and subscribe. Look, at the end of every video, I say that this is the best, most complete women's mixed martial arts dedicated platform on YouTube. And I mean that 100%. I believe that I provide the best content on a regular basis. I provide the most varied content on a regular basis. I mean, no other MMA channel on YouTube, certainly not catering to WMMA, is going to give you as wide a variety of content as I do. You're not going to get as much coverage of the various fights going on around the world as you get here. So if you want to really get into what's going on in the women's divisions, this is the place to find it. You're not going to find it anywhere else. So if you like the content, go ahead and subscribe. I'd love to see you more often. And, leave comments in the videos. Let me know your thoughts. I appreciate it. I don't always respond. I try to respond. Sometimes I just ignore them. And that's not necessarily, I won't say I ignore them. I read every comment. But sometimes I don't respond. Sometimes people just want to bait you. And sometimes I get in the habit of falling for the bait sometimes. So if I don't respond, that might be why. I think you're baiting me. And I'm just not going to get into it. But I do read all the comments. And I read all the chats in the chat during the live streams. So, till next time, shout out to everyone in the chat tonight. Brian Williams, Enrique Webb, D. Brown, and Perez. And that covers everybody. So, thank you to all of you for watching. And we're going to get ready to get out of here because I need a shower. So, till next time, like, subscribe. WMMA Now, the best, most complete women's mixed martial arts dedicated platform on YouTube. Thank you all for watching tonight, and we'll see you next time.